but seems like he's in favor of helping himself out in the mirror match.
Yeah. And Max has the misfortune of being on the draw in every match in this top 8 because he was the 8th seed.
8th seed, yeah.
But he had the fortunate happening of him having the best tiebreakers and making it in.
That's true,
seed,
right.
So.
And Bug Delver has a turn 1 Delver.
Pretty good.
Now,
he has a Daze and a Goyf to back it up. And a Wasteland.
We know Javier's got that good karma. Is that going to translate into a flipped Delver here on turn 2? And it is not? It is not. Okay.
In Legacy, a lot of the Delver lists have, anywhere from 27 to 30 cards that flip their Delvers. Javier's deck only has 20 cards that flip a Delver, so it's closer to the standard average of flipping your Delver. He does, however, have a Ponder and Brainstorms, so he's still better at flipping it than a standard deck is.
For sure.
And it's still just such a powerful spell that he's happy to have it.
Looks
Javier
like,
fetching up basics, dodging Wasteland really well. I like that play a lot. He has enough lands in his hand where he doesn't need to open himself up to lose to Wasteland.
And Tarmogoyf joins the Delver of Secrets on the ground there. Ground Pounders. Both attack for 1 at this point. But I think that Tarmogoyf, if it sticks around, it's going to be quite a different story. Max has a window here to easily kill that Tarmogoyf, though. Has a 1-2.
The big issue is that Javier does have Daze in hand, so Max is going to need to play around that. He knows it's in his opponent's deck, and he knows it's a 4-up. Alright, it just passes the turn. Max falling behind quickly here.
Yeah.
And, ooh, he reveals that Hymn to Turok. And fetching basics now, not looking like the best thing ever when he reveals that Hymn to Turok there.
Yeah, him would be great here, but we're not going to see it.
Yeah, definitely not going to happen.
For some reason, I thought Max had access to Lightning Bolt, but looking at his list, he does not. So Punishing Fire does not kill that Tarmogoyf. It actually makes it bigger.
Yeah, a nice addition to Javier Arevalo's deck that's not included right now, that if you built it and wanted to play with it, that I might suggest is the addition of Filter Lands. And I would also play extra Hymn to Turoks. If you play the Filter Lands, you don't need to fetch so aggressively for non-basics, and you can still cast your hymns.
Yeah. So, Javier into the red zone for 4 here. And
Max is going to attempt a Punishing Fire this Insectile Aberration, but Javier does have a Daze, so let's see if he chooses to do that right now.
Tarmogoyf, in the meantime, getting a little bit bigger. And
Javier hard casting a Daze.
Yeah, so Goyf now, a 2/3. So instead of it being attacked for 4, he's attacked for 5.
Max is going to be able to cast Swords to Plowshares in the Tarmogoyf this turn. But he may actually choose to target the Delver, depending on his hand and the board state.
Yeah. The Delver a lot.
He has a Knight in his hand and has additional like a land drop for next turn in addition to this turn to play around Daze. He may be very happy to just get the Tarmogoyf. Another option is to just pass the turn and not use your swords right here because you want to play around a like Jitte plus Equip or something like that.
Yeah.
However, Javier only has 1 Jit, so it's unlikely Max is going to play around that.
That 1 Jit, though, is in Javier's hand.
Oh, it is. So Max may get punished here.
Alright, so
An Maelstrom Pulse for Javier off the top. This is going to make it really easy for him to snowball and just protect these 2 guys and go all the way.
His land drop here is Wasteland, unfortunately. Still can't cast that Hymn to Turok.
Wasteland not bad here, though. He's going to get to shoot that Grove of the Burnwillows.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad thing. It might be better than the Hymn to Turok at this point to be able to Wasteland that Grove of the Burnwillows. Hey, Jesse, can we make it say Punishing Maverick? instead of just Maverick, since that's the version of it. Just to clarify, we wanted to make sure it says Punishing Maverick there for Max's deck. It's not just the green-white version.
A lot of people who watch are very wary of our deck naming.
And
right,
Wasteland for the Grove.
Wasteland that. Now, if I'm Max,
you
in
get
response, I probably use my Swords to Plowshares to leave as much mana open as possible.
Yeah, you don't get the Punishing Fire back.
Well,
here?
I get the Punishing Fire back also in response.
Okay.
Like, just make sure the sword goes off first.
He could return and use the Punishing Fire and force Javier to have a daze.
And that's not a bad play either, because then he still has the swords in his hand. Though he's taking a lot of damage here. He's already at 13, and he's facing down, 5 points of power on the table.
We know we have the deck list, so there are 4 days in Javier's deck, and Max knows that as well. 3 left, so he's gonna go with. Looks like he's returning the Punishing Fire.
Yeah, Max ahead on cards now by a lot. That's going to change once Javier is able to cast that Hymn to Turok, but at the same time, being ahead on cards isn't the plan you want when you're facing down 5 points of power and you're on 13.
Yeah, so at this point, Max has the decision to play around days or not, and he is playing around days. So Swords to Plowshares for the Goyf. And I only see him, Tietze, and there was one other card in Javier's hand. No, I don't know what it is. So, alright. Goyf dies.
Yep. And Max is going to drop to 10 here.
Now, an interesting option there for him would have been to Swords the Goyf and then just pay. Well, that would have left him tapped out too, so never mind. I'm just trying to think, because Swordsing the Goyf, Javier gains life, triggers the Punishing Fire, gets it back by tapping the Taiga. Yeah, that would have been a plan. Javier would have been down 1 life instead of, so he would have been at 20 instead.
Another Grove for Max. Now, if I'm Max, you have a couple options. You can upkeep Punishing Fire. You can main phase Scrib Ranger. Or Scrib Spray, I'm sorry. What is the... Scrib Ranger, yes. I was right the first time. The one you used was Spectral Force.
Yeah.
In that block constructed.
Yes, that was an awesome deck. I love that. Alright, tap, upkeep, Brainstorm.
Alright, now Max is probably going to respond with Punishing Fire on the Insectile Aberration, or just respond with the Scrib Ranger.
And it looks like we're on Punishing Fire plan.
Yeah.
And Insectile Aberration flips back to a Delver before going to the graveyard.
Now, my Max, I'd probably do that during Javier's upkeep, but it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Yeah, 1 less card that Javier would have had.
Then again, there's an argument for not doing it then and waiting till he sinks mana to equip a Jit and not doing it if he just attacks. But if he plays a Brainstorm, you have to do it.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. So he was very likely on the get him when he tries to equip plan, but with the Brainstorm.
Yeah, and Javier knows he has the Punishing Fire, so he's unlikely to equip. But that lets Max, eat 1 more attack and figure out where he stands so that he can formulate a plan on Javier's end step and react accordingly.
So Javier gains another life, and we've got Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows combo active here, and the players deciding they want to show us more of their cards. Very appreciated.
Have you ever had Grove of the Burn Willows and Liliana in play with Punishing Fire? It's really fun.
No, I haven't.
before they banned Grove in Modern.
Right.
It was good times. Max debating a Stoneforge Mystic.
Javier with another Brainstorm in hand, but and we know he also has Hymn to Torok. At least if not in hand, then on top of his deck, and maybe shuffling it away here. Stoneforge Mystic from Max.
It looks like Stoneforge Mystic's going to resolve. Now against Javier, I think right now Max probably wants to search for a Jit so he can Legend Rule it away. That seems to make the most sense at this stage of the game. The Jitte is really powerful in these creature mirrors. Both players only have one main deck, as one would expect them to, and by Max searching that up, it makes it so that he's significantly less vulnerable to Javier playing for just an equip on Jitte. A Tarmogoyf is extremely difficult for Max to kill if he doesn't have another Sword of Plowshares, so.
And Brainstorm from Javier. Let's see, a Ghastly Demise. 3 of those in Javier's deck.
Ghastly Demise is a really cool card. Any removal spell that costs 1 mana. Pretty exciting. All right, now Javier just deciding what he's going to put back with his Brainstorm. Decides this is the correct configuration he needs right now. As a fetch land, gets to shuffle away those 2 cards that he didn't want.
And we have another fetch land. Yep.
And Javier here, I think one of his best plays might just be to him and to hope to hit that Jit in Max's hand.
Looks like that is not the plan he's going with. Looks like Tarmogoyf.
Oh, did you draw a Tarmogoyf? That's awesome for him. Yeah, brainstorming into a Tarmogoyf, definitely better.
And that's a big Goyf, I think.
I think it's actually a 3/4.
Yeah, it's not as big as I thought. So many cards in the graveyard. Really not that many different cards in the graveyard. Just creature instant land. Yeah, 3/4 Goyf. It's a Hero of Bladehold Goyf.
And, it'll be a 4/5 by the time damage resolves because Max is going to put his Jitte into play.
Scrib Ranger from Max.
Scrib Ranger. A
very tricky
card that a lot of people have enjoyed playing over the years that has found a home in Legacy. So strong against cards like Vendilion, like Spellstutter, Sprite, Snapcaster Mage. And
Delver of Secrets.
And Delver of Secrets. And when all those decks are also, including Stoneforge Mystic for cards like Muzawa's Jitte or Swords, if you have a Scrib Ranger on the table, a creature with protection from blue, it makes it really hard for them to hit you with any of this equipment that's so powerful when it does hit you. So you just take away one of these decks' biggest strengths by playing that card. Max has a lot of different options here.
Scrib Ranger, kind of very, very tricky card. Lets you return forests and do all kinds of tricky things. It's such a weird card. It's almost tough to see, especially when you're playing against it. You're not used to it, to see all the lines of play that your opponent could do.
Scrib Ranger is a really powerful spell. Well, I mean, it's a really well-positioned spell.
Right. It's powerful because of its positioning. And Knight of the Reliquary from Max.
Nice choice for Max there. Knight of the Reliquary is going to be exceptional with the Scrib Ranger, and it's also going to outclass this Tarmogoyf very quickly. I believe Max has 3 lands in his graveyard, so the Knight of the Reliquary is a 5/5 to Javier's 3/4 Tarmogoyf. Ghastly Demise is going to deal with that Knight of the Reliquary, though.
Yeah, and that's important because just because of that Scrib Ranger being around can allow Max to reuse or use that Knight of the Reliquary twice in a turn.
Yeah, just so strong, and that can actually produce a lot of ramp. It's surprising that returning lands to your hand and sacrificing them actually nets you mana in that situation.
Yeah. And growing a Knight of the Reliquary by 2, sometimes 3 power in a turn, depending on how many fetch lands you're getting. 2 fetch lands. You grow it by 4 power in a turn.
If I'm Javier, I equip the Jit. It forces Max to use the Stoneforge. Max is probably going to take another hit for 3 here, fall to 6. That's precisely what he does. Javier didn't equip the Jit, so he's set on 1 point of damage, but that 1 point is pretty irrelevant. It doesn't affect the clock at all, so... Unless, of course, Javier draws a Ponder next turn, so...
Cracks the fetch anyway.
And Max is just going to drop this Jit. Break parity. It doesn't change Goyf's clock. He's at 5. Goyf will attack for 4. Though at this point, he is definitely in chump blocking mode on that Goyf.
And, instead of that, he goes with Viling and a Sword off of that Stoneforge Mystic. Not Umezawa's Jitte. So, I think Javier should have equipped there, because he equips, attacks, assuming Max does not want the Goyf to connect with the Jitte. He's going to crack a fetch, lose a life from that, and then he's going to Violin the Jitte. Doesn't have the sword here that he has now. Make Goyf bigger, so it's actually 2 extra damage. And again, the sword ends up stuck in Max's hand. I don't know. I kind of feel like he should have equipped the Jitte. Now, of course, he didn't know about the sword.
Very surprised Max didn't attack with that sort of light and shadow Scrib Ranger.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised as well. And we have a Snapcaster Mage from Javier. I believe this is all end of Max's turn here.
That makes sense.
Flashback Ghastly Demise on the Scrib Ranger. And that's going to be trouble for Max. That's in response to the equip, actually, I think. That's why we were thinking, why didn't he attack? Well, because he hadn't actually gotten the sword on there yet. Sometimes it's unclear exactly where we are in the turn. That Scrib Ranger certainly looks like it's holding that sword, but it is not.
Yeah, now, with that Grove in play, Max should be able to grind him down. And he also has the Jit. The big problem here is, though, he's at 5, and he needs to quickly stabilize this game, or he's just going to lose. And I like this play a lot from Max. All right, what Max is going to do here, Max is going to use his Stoneforge Mystic, and he's going to put a Jitte into play. Then he's going to use Scrib Ranger's activated ability, and he's going to untap the Stoneforge Mystic, and then he's going to replay the land that he returned, the Scrib Ranger, and use that land to equip the Stoneforge Mystic with a sword. Sword of Light and Shadow.
In the meantime, I think he's just letting, you know,
Okay,
go ahead, Ghastly Demise resolves.
Must have different plans set up.
Well, I mean, he still can do what you said, right? He can still use the Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, he still does. He definitely has a different plan anyway now that he's played a land, but
yeah. Well, I was thinking that he was going to respond to the Ghastly Demise by using Stoneforge Mystic, put Jit into play, then return a Forest to his hand.
Oh, right. He'd need the Scrib Ranger around,
Mystic,
yeah, obviously.
Then replay the land that he returned with Scrib Ranger and equip the Stoneforge
I see.
Mystic.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
But I think he must have something in his hand that I don't know about. Yeah, so here he's gonna have to get a connection with that.
And this appears to be. Oh, he's just hard casting it.
Yeah. You don't need to put it in play with Stoneforge. You can just hard cast it.
Yeah. And now he can still end up with Stoneforge holding a sword, if that's what he wants to do.
Charm Grove say 4/5 at this point, I believe. So as long as Max is unable to find a ponder next turn, or as long as Javier is unable to find a ponder next turn,
okay,
Max will be okay.
Gaddock Teague from Max. So Stoneforge did not pick up the sword. Sword just hanging out there. 4/5 Goyf. 2/1 Snapcaster. Max at a fairly precarious 5 life.
Yeah, probably falling to 1 this turn.
Don't know what Javier has, but we do know he has some big dudes. So
Javier gets in the red zone. Max is probably going to trade the Stoneforge for the Snapcaster.
Yeah, let's count how big the Goyf is, and it should be a 4/5 with artifact, creature, land, and instant in the graveyard. No sorceries, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, there are no sorceries yet in these graveyards.
So it looks like he may be trading the Gaddock Teague for something, or he could chump, or he could trade and chump. Or he could fall to 3, or decide to fall to 1.
And now,
Gaddock Teague chump blocks.
Actually negatively affects Max more than it negatively affects Javier.
And is that a Maelstrom Pulse for the sword? Yeah.
Maelstrom Pulse takes care of Sword of Light and Shadow.
Max now at 3 life after getting hit from the Snapcaster Mage. Tarmogoyf fended off by a Gaddock Teague, but Gaddock Teague, unfortunately, didn't live through the attack. And now there are sorceries in the graveyard. Oh, a sorcery.
Yep,
Maelstrom
and
Pulse
that's dangerous.
Makes the Goyf into a 5/6.
Yeah, the Goyf is really, really hard to kill here.
Javier at a healthy 19 life.
Yeah, the Grove of the Burnwell does a lot of good in terms of card advantage and grindiness, but it ends up making your opponent gain a good amount of life. So if you're planning on being a super aggressive deck, it doesn't work exceptionally well. Or Max deck is more of like a mid-rangey type legacy aggro deck. And a green sensing for Max.
He's going to get a Scavenging Ooze so he can make that Goyf smaller. At least that's what I think he's doing.
Seems very reasonable to me.
I mean, he can get a Goyf of his own, I think. No, he does not have a Torrent combo. So. looking at the wrong list. And Scavenging Ooze it is.
And there are 1, 2, 3 cards.
He can also, besides removing creatures gaining some life, he can just go ahead and just remove the sorceries, the artifacts real easily, and make that Goyf shrink real fast. Because there's only 2 artifacts in the graveyard. Or are there 3? There's 2 GJs and a sword, so there's 3 artifacts, but only 1 sorcery, so that'll immediately shrink the Goyf. Green Sun Zenith is a sorcery, but it resolves and shuffles back, so it's not in the graveyard for the Goyf.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to want to remove the creatures for the ooze. By doing so, the ooze gets bigger.
Yeah, and he's got plenty of mana. I think just shrinking the Goyf by 1 could, help a little bit, and then go ahead and go for creatures. But yeah, you might be right. You might just go for all the creatures first.
So earlier in this tournament, we saw Max Tietze get bluffed by a Tarmogoyf attack. Afterward, I'm pretty sure he knew he was bluffed. So he may have been a little frustrated about that. His opponent's not going to do damage. Here, he's not going to take any risks.
Shump blocked with the Stoneforge Mystic. 5/6 Goyf stays a 5/6
yeah.
for the time being.
Tietze.
And we remove a Delver of Secrets. Scavenging Ooze gets bigger. Max goes up to 4. Let's see, what else do you have in there? No other creatures, I don't think, in Javier's graveyard. He's the first Goyf got swords, so it's not available. So Max removes his own Stoneforge Mystic, goes up to 5 life. Scavenging Ooze grows yet again, so it's a 4/4 ooze.
Scavenging Ooze gets out of hand really quickly.
It does. It is extremely frustrating to play against. I've definitely lost games with my opponent at 1 life because they have a Scavenging Ooze in play and had been using it.
It does that. In the finals in Orlando, we saw a 4-color Maverick player beat Dredge in the finals, and he just Green Sun Zenith for a Scavenging Ooze and looked like the Dredge deck didn't do anything.
Yeah. It's a very, very good card.
Max is going to cast another Stoneforge Mystic. And what equipment does he have to search for?
I don't know.
He hasn't any left.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know that there's anything left in his library.
Yeah, his plan is to just trade it with Snapcaster.
Just a sword and a GT, and both are in the graveyard right now. So we've just got a Squire. A Squire who shuffles if Max so wanted to do that. And looking at Javier's hand, I do see at least A days, maybe double days. Meanwhile, Scavenging Ooze continues to grow, to scavenge there. Gaddock Teague exiled, Knight of the Reliquary exiled. We've got a Verdant Force there on the board.
Yeah, Verdant Force beast.
Yeah, maybe an Elemental. I'm not sure.
I think it's the power and toughness of my normal record when I played in like Nationals and the Pro Tour. 7/7.
Yeah. Alright, so Javier now has to decide what to do about a 7/7.
And he's on his heels.
And Snapcaster gets in the way. Maze of Ith from Max, and that is, he's putting on the brakes. Tarmogoyf now, maybe getting a little lost in Ith's maze. Ponder from Javier.
I wonder who this Ith guy is anyway. You know?
Yeah, well, there was a card in Time Spiral block. Remember, if High Arcanist, right? I think
Oh, you're right.
He had, I think he had Suspend. And
I do remember if.
I very much like his Maze. It is one of my favorite cards in the history of Magic.
Maze is especially strong with Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah.
And you can untap your own Knight of the Reliquary at the end of the combat step after you've blocked something and searched for a land.
Yeah.
And then you get to search for another land. You know,
Javier
wastelands.
finds the wasteland
Rips the
and
wasteland,
gets that maze out of here.
Max is probably chumping.
Yeah, I think you know, he was safe with the maze. He's still safe without the maze at this point. He's also out of range from you know, the one-hit wonder that the Tarmogoyf was a few turns ago before the Scavenging Ooze showed up. Scavenging Ooze, meantime, now an 8/8.
There's only one sorcery remaining in all graveyards. Max has the ability to remove. Oh no, there are two sorceries: Ponder and a Maelstrom Pulse. He's gonna remove both of those.
Yeah, those don't grow the ooze, but they certainly shrink the Goyf.
Yeah, and that's what he's trying to do at this point.
Goyf, I believe a 3/4 now, or
Max keeps playing 0 Tarmogoyfs in his Maverick deck.
Are there any creatures left? I don't think there are any creatures left, so I think it's a 3/4 Goyf then, right? You got land, instant, artifact.
Land, instant, artifact.
And I have a feeling those artifacts are going. Yeah, 3/4 Tarmogoyf. That is
it's becoming a lot less impressive. You know, by next turn, if Max wants, he can have that down to be a 1/2, and then it's just a parody of that Stoneforge Mystic.
And you see, one of the reasons that these Maverick decks just say we don't need a Tarmogoyf, because Scavenging Ooze not only makes Tarmogoyf not look so hot alongside a Tarmogoyf, but it also is great against Tarmogoyf. So it's a Tarmogoyf trump.
Alright, something is happening.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a pause here.
Alright, I'd love to know what's going on. Maybe we can get a line into the judges here.
Yeah.
But right now it's looking like Max has come back, and he's about to take this game over.
He's got
Javier had a great start here.
Oh, he played a fetch after playing a Wasteland, apparently.
Oh, Javier played a fetch land after he played the Wasteland. Oh, so he played 2 lands per turn.
Yeah. No exploration in play. Okay, so they're backing it up. There's a warning for a game rules violation, and they're going to keep playing, so...
And, you know, it really has, like, it does not benefit Javier at all. There's nothing in his deck that he could top deck to make him be able to play any differently of that. It could matter with some weird brainstorm things that could happen a few turns down the line, but pretty unlikely.
Alright, so Punishing Fire hits the Goyf, or it's targeting the Goyf anyway, and that will give Max the opportunity to get the Punishing Fire back and hit it again, which is what it looks like the plan is here.
Yeah.
And this time, Javier says, I'm going to daze that. Alright, I'll pay. Max pays, and double daze, I was correct, I wasn't sure, but...
Yeah.
And that...
I mean, that's fine. Max just traded 0 cards for 2 cards.
Yeah.
And he can still just kill the Goyf on his own turn now.
Yeah, Goyf has already taken...
Or, oh, okay, it's Javier's turn now. Alright.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh, Javier with a nice top deck there.
What was it? I didn't quite see.
Snapcaster Mage.
Okay.
Really, really good top deck. But, you know, Max wisely used that Scavenging Ooze to remove that Brainstorm from Javier's graveyard. So, you know, Javier's still with the all-powerful Gaslightomize in there, though, I believe, right? Or was that removed also?
That he already Snapcastered the Gaslightomize.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
I'm kind of surprised Max didn't just go ahead and get all the artifacts out, shrink the Goyf a little further. I mean, that Goyf's not very threatening now. And there's, I don't think, many artifacts likely to show up.
He had enough mana at that point to Punishing Fire and Flashback and have it be able to dodge the days. Javier happened to have double days, but at that point, that puts you in a position where you're winning on the board and your opponent has no cards in their hand.
Yeah.
And especially considering that he knew his opponent had a land in hand because of the GRV.
Right.
GRV not being an acronym for a card name, but a game rule violation.
Yeah. All right, so Javier looks to be considering a Snapcaster here. What's in there besides Dazes? Is there a Ponder still in there,
might be
or
one
no?
Brainstorm left.
Okay, that's possible. Is he targeting? Is it Brainstorm? It is Brainstorm. And yeah, Max tapped out, so Javier able to capitalize on that little window with the Snapcaster Brainstorm. Normally, Snapcaster Mage not really that great against an opponent with the Scavenging Ooze in play. In fact, it's very demoralizing to have a Snapcaster Mage when your opponent has open mana and a Scavenging Ooze in play, because they just take what you target.
Yeah, they just pay green.
Yeah.
But Javier was able to get Max to tap out, and how many cards does Javier have in his hand? Shouldn't he have
2 maybe?
1, 2.
He had Days Fetch, right?
Yeah,
Drew Snapcaster.
2. That's why I'm confused.
Did he play
He used the fetch line, right? So he should have 1.
I didn't know that he played the fetch. I don't.
No, he did.
Okay.
2 cards. I just want to make sure that. So you should have 1 card, right? Because he had Days fetch land, and then he drew Snapcaster.
Right, so he goes Days. It was Days fetch.
Yeah.
He used those, so he had 2 left. I'm sorry, he had 1 card. He had the fetch left. He drew the Snapcaster. Played the Snapcaster. He may not have played the fetch. I kind of don't remember him playing the fetch.
No, it's the top of his graveyard.
Okay, then he did play the fetch. For some reason, yeah, I don't know what I'm.
So shouldn't he only have 1 card in his hand? Right?
Played the Snapcaster, used the fetch, Brainstorm ends him, keeps him with 1 card. Yeah, that's odd.
How does he have 2 cards?
My only question was about whether or not he played the fetch. You sure that? Yeah, that seems like he did. Yeah.
I'm a little confused right now.
Me too. I'm not sure. I mean, unless he just had another card. We thought he had Days fetch. Maybe he had Days fetch something else. Yeah, I think that's my guess at this point. All right, so Maelstrom Pulse number 2 from Javier. This time, finally finds an answer to Scavenging Ooze. But in the meantime, Max has added another very large threat to the board in the form of Knight of the Reliquary.
And the Knight can be really, really good.
This is an extremely grindy game here.
Yeah, very good game here.
At one point down to 3 life. And now up to 6. Uses Scavenging Ooze 1 more time to get rid of Wasteland in Javier's graveyard. We know Javier has Life from the Loam, and Max knows as well, so he's does not want to get Wasteland locked. Javier now Delver of Secrets on the board. Passes back. Max untaps, draws. He's got Windswept Heath, Aven Mind Sensor. Well, there's the Windswept Heath. So in hand, he's got Aven Mind Sensor and something else.
Yeah, this the Punishing Fire should do some work. So.
Oh, he returned an island with the Days. That's where the other card came from.
Oh, you're right. Okay. And that actually ended up working out really well for him because he still had the 1 Brainstorm in his yard.
Yeah, K Tyson 01 on Twitter. Thank you for reminding us.
Thank you very much for reminding us that he returned the island with the 1 Days. I don't want there to be any confusion with that.
Definitely. So
I was just confused about what happened, and
So Javier activates fetch land. Max looks like he's got some plans. Stops Javier. Even Mind Sensor gonna make Javier give Javier a lot few places to look for that land.
Yep. Javier will still have to shuffle his library afterward.
All right, Even Mind Sensor. Now that hurts Max a little bit too. That Knight of the Reliquary doesn't find. If the Knight of the Reliquary searches, it also only searches the top 4.
And he whiffs, and he's going to have to shuffle. And those are some good cards for Javier. He didn't really want to shuffle those away. Are you sure Even Mind Sensor isn't one-sided? I thought it was.
Maybe it's one-sided.
I'm pretty sure it's one-sided.
Oh,
because
that's even better.
It's been played in a lot of decks with fetch lands over the years. It's an opponent, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I definitely thought if a player would search a library, the player searches the top 4. So never mind. Even Mind Sensor better than I even thought. Delver reveals a card to flip it, and it is an old card frame, but that is as much as we know.
That is all we know.
It is an old card frame blue card. Could be Force, could be Daze, could be Brainstorm. Whatever it was, Javier hesitated to show it. You know, he looked and hesitated, then decided to show and flip the Delver. So, Punishing Fire for the Insectile Aberration. And
this Punishing Fire has done so much work for Max over the course of this game. But now this Tarmogoyf is getting very big again. Max is going to go to 5 here. Another Reliquary growing a little bit. Going to search for land. Gets an activation off another Reliquary. His Knight going to start searching up some wastelands.
For those of you just joining us, we are in Game 1 of the semifinals. This Game 1 has been going on for about...
great game.
I want to say it's been 55 minutes.
Wow.
For this Game 1.
Neither player has even been playing slow.
I want to say, yeah. It is 55. Okay. This game has been going on for 55 minutes. It's Game 1 of the semifinals of the StarCityGames.com Invitational in Baltimore. I'm Joey Pasco, here with Jacob Van Lunen in the booth for SCG Live. This game has been really exciting. Javier had Max down to 3 at one point. Scavenging Ooze swung in to save Max.
He was able to green Sunseed for that, and it really helped pull him back into the game. Now Max has multiple Grove of the Burn Willows. That's going to allow him to, create like a veritable machine gun, especially with the mana he's going to get from this Nether Reliquary. Now Max can start swinging over in the air too with the Even Mind Sensor. See, it looks like he drew a spell. That doesn't bode well for Javier.
Even Mind Sensor a few turns ago effectively wastelanding Javier when he attempted to crack a fetch land, and then Mind Sensor flashed in. Javier can only search the top 4 cards of his library and failed to find a land there. Had to shuffle away some good cards and lost a fetch land in the process. I guess it was more like a Stone Rain, considering it cost 3. But came in at instant speed and left a Flying Beater behind. That's a good Stone Rain.
It's a pretty good Stone Rain. It's like Snapcaster Stifle, but it flies.
Yeah. And is that Birds of Paradise?
That is a Birds of Paradise. So Max did draw a spell, but
it was not as
exciting as we thought it could have been.
Javier now with only 5 permanents in play. Max has almost 5. He has 4 creatures in play.
Yeah, now Javier's
7
only going to have
lands.
4 permanents after this. Max has a few different options here. He can get a Dryad Arbor just to, be safe on the board. He can get a Horizon Canopy to draw a card. He can get a Wasteland to start wasting Javier down. There are a bunch of different options he has. He should just go with the Horizon Canopy. Can't fault him there.
Wants to draw some cards. Definitely can't fault him for that. Draws a card.
And I believe that was probably the best card it could have been.
I didn't quite see what it was.
I think it's an Elspeth Knight of Run.
Oh, is that all? Let's see, pays 2, Punishing Fire.
Yep.
Not quite sure what he targeted, but I think it was Javier.
Well, he targeted Javier, then returned it again. So Javier gained 2 and lost 2, but Max ended up returning the Punishing Fire back to his hand. So it's either 2 Mother of Runes or Mother of Runes and an Elspeth in Max's hand now.
I think it's 2 mothers.
Okay, 2 moms.
I mean, it's very tough to tell. He only showed us for a split second, but I think the cards match. You know, like I'm seeing 2 of the same card, and I definitely know one of them was Mother of Runes. So that leads me to believe that the other is also Mother of Runes. All right, into the red zone for Max. Knight of the Reliquary, which is I think it's huge/huge.
Yes, Gigundus.
Yeah. Can we get a Knight of the Reliquary power toughness check?
11-11.
11-11. Oh, is that all?
Only a Leviathan.
Yeah. Only 11.
Creature of myth.
See,
An
Max.
Eldrazi-sized knight. Imagine just being like a regular knight dude and being like, yo, I can take on an Eldrazi, no problem.
Ours go to 11, says Max, and he plays double Mother, as we suspected.
Mother! So, Javier packs it in. Yeah. Brainstorms and packs it in.
At long last, game 1 of the semifinals comes to an end.
That game was a really tight game all throughout. Javier had a great start, and even had the dazes to protect his really strong start. Max played around them really well, was able to sneak his way back into the game with a Scavenging Ooze, and was about to take over at about 25 to 30 minutes into the game, but Javier top decked a pair of Snapcaster Mages and then a Brainstorm into a removal spell, all to keep him alive. The game went on for another half hour, and then eventually Max was able to just ride his Punishing Fire to victory.
And then one day, Max won the game, finally. Yeah, that was
a long time ago.
Yeah, once upon a time when this game started.
A Delver was played on turn 1, and a Tarmogoyf was played on turn 2, and the Delver flipped on turn 3, and Javier had counter magic backup.
Yeah, that was...
An hour later, Max won.
Javier did a good job of staying in that. I mean, of trying to climb back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad matchup for Javier. You can't at all get upset with his play there.
Yeah, it was tough. He put a lot of pressure on early. When Max swung the game, climb back in. Javier just not able to really get that momentum back. So, very exciting there. Do we have any reports from the other match? Those guys, did they play like 6 games? Or? I mean, that's a control-ish mirror, and I guess that they're deeper into their... They could be done. They could be deeper into their match than us.
And now...
So, a question for Twitter, since there are so many of you, an easy way to find out, what commander deck was Scavenging Ooze in? I'll ask you too, JVL, if you happen to know.
I don't know.
Okay. Well then, Twitter, tell us, what commander deck was Scavenging Ooze in?
If you decided to invest in some of that commander deck, you probably did pretty well.
Yeah, Scavenging Ooze out of stock right now in Star City at $40.
Wow.
Yeah. They're in game 3. Okay.
Nick and Shaheen battling it out in game 3.
Yeah.
Nick losing another game to the Esper.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to. I honestly want to know.
Another big difference is that in the Swiss, everybody's playing against the control deck. They're all definitely leaving in their Lingering Souls. They have, they do not have Nick's deck list. They don't know that he can just pay 1 black mana and cast an enchantment that gives all white creatures -1/-1. In the top 8, people get to see your 75.
Yeah, they can plan around it.
The matchup is certainly not as good as it was in the Swiss, where Nick just had complete dominance over them.
Any answers from Twitter yet? I'm just looking. I don't know if they're writing at SCG Live or tag it SCGINVI or at Affinity for Blue, whatever. These guys get to sideboard. taking a look here while JVL checks Twitter. Another Scavenging Ooze for Max. I imagine that you'd want another Scavenging Ooze, considering how ridiculous it was in that game. He's got 3 choke, and we did hear that that Max did choke Ben Friedman twice in the quarterfinals. He's also got a Bajuka Bog, which obviously not really, you know, the as strong as it is against something like Dredge or Reanimator, but you know, that'll shrink a Goyf real quick. I don't know that he brings it in, but it is just a 1-of, and he can tutor for it with Knight of the Reliquary. He's got 2 red Elemental Blasts. I imagine those are coming in. He's also got an additional... He's got a Path to Exile. A nice way to deal with Goyf, so I think that's coming in too. But yeah, so Path, Red Blast, I think a Scavenging Ooze, probably some chokes on Max's side. Javier.
So it looks like everybody is saying it was Counterpunch.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
They are
Counterpunch. How about a nice Hawaiian Punch? That's what I think of when I think of that name.
Counterpunch.
I wonder if that's one of the ones I have. I don't think it is. That sucks. I have like 2 commander decks unopened, not for any reason other than
Is the one with the kudu? The elk?
Oh yeah, that guy. I got the one with the elf. The guy. What's his name? Edric. Edric, I think is his name.
Isn't that Counterpunch?
I don't think that's Counterpunch. I think that's the Riku, the 2 reflections one. That's the one with the Mirror Mastery. I think is that one. Right. That one's got that one. So I did get that one, and I think that one's the one I opened, and I believe I have another one that is unopened. The one with the one that's like red, white, blue. I think that
where you give your opponent
a bunch of stuff. So. Yeah, like I got those, and then I don't ever play Commander. I opened up the Riku deck and was like, cool. I'm like looking at the cards. I put them in sleeves, put them in a box. Guess what? Never took them out of the box.
Never took them out of the box.
They're all still in a box. So if Commander, you know, is
at the beginning of this Modern season, I bought a whole Modern deck for Cryptic Commands, for everything. Was super excited about it. Been traveling, doing commentary every weekend. You know, I'm home for like 2 weekends over the course of the last like months or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I'll leave home those 2 weekends, I'm not going to go PTQs. So my deck is just sat there in the box. I've like played it against friends when they were testing the PTQs, and that's it. They're like, I don't want to test against you. Nobody's playing that deck. And I'm like, I just want to play.
Yeah, please. I just want to play Magic the Gathering, please. So I got to tell you this, because this is dead on. John Buck Johnson confirms that I don't have it, not because he went to my house and looked, but because it has no blue in it, and that is absolutely correct. I would not have bought the Commander deck with no blue in it. So, despite the name Counterpunch, you know, sounds like it has some sort of counter spell in it. It should have blue in it, right? No, does not have blue. That means I didn't get it. Yeah. So sad.
To a different type of counter.
Frown Town. Yeah. That's okay. I'll just have to get. You know, not that I'm even needing Scavenging Oozes necessarily. But I don't have any, so if I need to play it, I'm gonna need to get Scavenging Oozes, and
it's funny. It's a card that's, you know, it's a 1 to 3 of in decks in Eternal formats, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a $40 card.
That's nuts. Yeah.
And it's new.
I need to text my girlfriend and tell her to go to Target and look for the Counterpunch deck. It may still be there. I mean, actually, I shouldn't have said that live.
Now everybody's going to go.
Everybody's going to go buy out all the Targets.
The entire world.
I mean, I know every time I go to Target, I look and see what Magic stuff they have. I never buy anything, or rarely buy anything from there, but I'm always like, what do they have here at Target?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you go to the game store before you do anything. You got to support your local game store. You got to support Magic websites, things like that.
I buy all my cards.
They keep the game going, yeah.
From dedicated Magic stores, you know, game stores. That's pretty much where I get everything from. I bought the Fire and Lightning theme deck because at Target it was like half off or something. It was on, I guess, because they hadn't sold any, or you know, they had some left. It was like 50% off. I'm like, sure, yeah. I'm like, why not? I could use, you know, 18 foil mountains. Why not? You know, or however many. Some cool cards, and that is in a box under my bed next to the Commander deck that I haven't opened.
Yeah,
I have a lot of stuff that I just never opened.
I have 10 unopened Elspeth vs. Tezzeret dual decks.
Nice. Yeah, that's a pretty good one to have. I mean, Elspeth.
I don't know how much those are
I don't know, but I mean, the thing is, the longer you wait, the more they're probably worth because they just get
rarer.
Factories
and Swords to Plowshares in them too, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Besides Elspeth, there are other cards there that are pretty good to have. Yeah, I know when Jace versus Chandra came out, I was tempted to buy it because I was like, oh, this looks cool. Like, this is cool little pre-built decks and stuff. I was like, maybe I can get my girlfriend to play with me because I'm always like, hey, you want to play Magic with me? She's like, oh, I will one day, and never does. But yeah, I'm not gonna force it on her or anything. But anyway, I was like, oh, I'll get this and I'll play the blue deck. She can play the red deck, and I got her to play Versus System. That's why I think that I could get her to play Magic. But anyway, I just never bought it. And then at one point, I was like, oh yeah, I want to get one of those. And it was like a year later, and they were like all like $80. And I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't want it that bad. And suddenly jumped because they were out of print. And I also wanted the counterspells and the Jace counterspell.
This is some sweet counterspells.
Yeah, I ended up just buying those individually. They were only like $1, but
those are the counterspells I use on Magic Online.
Oh, cool. Where he's just like, whoosh, kind of like.
It's hard to get counterspells on Magic Online.
Is it?
They were only in like 7th edition.
Yeah.
And then they were like in a couple like Mastered Edition things.
Huh.
That dual deck also had Days in it, and that's the only way to get Days on Magic Online.
That's right, yeah, and so it's like an $11 card. Right.
Yeah.
All right, so now going into game 2 here between Max Tietze and Javier Arevalo at the StarCityGames.com Invitational. Javier on the play, turn 1 Thoughtseize. Max says, mental misstep. Oh no, I'll show you my hand. No mental missteps in Max's board or main deck. And we're going to see. We've got Punishing Fire, Swords to Plowshares, Birds of Paradise. Zoom back out so we can actually see. 3 lands and something else that we didn't see because Max pulled it off screen here. I believe it was another Swords. Oh no, it was a Stoneforge Mystic. It was a white card, yeah.
It was the card that made the hand keepable.
Alright, so
I mean, now he's...
Birds Plow.
Max is going to be on the control plan again with his Naya deck. Worked out last time. Can he pull it out again?
Draws a card. I believe it was a fetch land. I think he drew. Land Birds. Javier, untap, draw. It's got Wasteland. Polluted Delta. Fetch land. Oh, that is the Polluted Delta. I'm sorry. Underground Sea. Another fetch land. So he's got Javier's 4-land Brainstorm? Is that what that is? Is that all he's got?
Yeah, that's
so
all he
Polluted
has.
Delta. Polluted Delta's gonna, I think, just stick around. I thought maybe he was gonna main phase
Underground Sea
here.
first?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would have, I think, gone Underground Sea and then had the opportunity to Brainstorm and then fetch late. You know what I mean? Get fresh cards on top.
I think
he does have another fetch.
He's aggressively playing around Wasteland, and maybe in his testing that was really important. So
seems right. I understand that. And I think he does have a Misty Rainforest, or at least another fetch land, I'm pretty sure, in his hand. So he can still do Brainstorm fetch,
which he's going to need to do.
Yeah.
That hand will not suffice. Can't hold that Brainstorm and wait.
Little pause in the action here. Not quite sure what's happening, but we're back into the game. So Max plays a Misty Rainforest, and I believe just passed the turn. Javier draws another land. I think another Polluted Delta. And he cracks the first one. Probably sorry he didn't crack it earlier. I believe he's just got all lands in a Brainstorm. I mean, if you're going to have all lands in one spell, Brainstorm's not a bad one to have.
About the best it could possibly be because, right now he has all lands in a Brainstorm. We're like, oh man, his hand is so bad. But he's going to tap 1 blue mana, and then his hand can very easily be 3 spells.
Yeah.
And he can shuffle away all his lands.
Yep.
So this is the power of Brainstorm, ladies and gentlemen. Like, a lot of people are always wondering, like, how is Brainstorm really the best card in Legacy? That doesn't really make sense, but here you're seeing it. Javier's hand is all lands. He's about to cast Brainstorm, and all of this whole game is going to change drastically.
All right, there it goes. Island, tap it, Brainstorm, draw 3. He has not played a land yet this turn, so he can just play a fetch land, which I assume he's going to go fetch go. We don't know what he's seeing there.
But I mean, there are a lot of different things that could happen here. Like, he could put Brainstorm into a Tarmogoyf, and then he could fetch for a Green Source and jam Goyf.
Yep.
He could have Brainstormed into a Delver. Then he could put back an instant on the top of his library. Doesn't have to play a fetch land this turn. He is going to play the fetch land. Let's see. He gets an Underground Sea, so he did not get a Tarmogoyf.
Could be him.
It could be a him to Turok.
We saw last game where he actually had that early him, but couldn't cast it because he searched for basic lands and did not have double black for a long portion of that game early on.
I like Javier's style. His basics are Beta.
Beta basics. And Delver of Secrets from Javier. Foil Delver. Alright, Max gonna crack his Misty Rainforest. Search for a, you think he searches for Grove of the Burn Willows? He wants to.
I mean, that would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
I don't think he will.
Basic land, Grove of the Burn Willows, something like basic island plains, no.
If Grove of the Burn Willows had a basic land type, that would be kind of insane.
Yeah. So he gets a Taiga.
But he's going to Punishing Fire this Delver.
Yeah, I think he's Punishing Fire here. Punishing Fire. Delver of Secrets, punished. Do you, I mean, there is some something to be said for maybe waiting until Javier potentially reveals the top card of his library, just to get that extra bit of information. Although it does give Javier an extra card.
It gives him more opportunities to be able to protect the Delver.
Yeah.
And
you kind of.
It also tells him that when it's important to protect the Delver. Ooh, a choke.
Choke. Max on the choke plan this entire quarterfinals and semifinals against his blue opponents. Obviously, Ben Friedman choked out of the tournament in the quarterfinals, and Max now choking Javier Arevalo.
Powerful wizard, Maxwell
That
Tietze.
is tough. Yeah, I mean, it's not often you get away with choking people at tournaments.
Huh?
Javier now really in a corner just because of that. Now we know he was flooded earlier, but that's about his only consolation. I don't even know. He shuffled away a lot of lands, so maybe.
Earlier, when I had suggested the filter lands in Javier's deck, those would also solve the choke issue to a
That,
certain
yeah,
degree.
there you go.
Earlier,
That's a good point.
earlier in the tournament, we saw Dan Jordan choke someone, and their next land drop was a Mystic Gate.
Mystic Gate, yeah. Filter lands, something that I miss from Standard.
Great cards. Really
Yeah.
well designed, too.
Yeah.
Not overpowered at all. Alright, so Max is pondering his decision here. I mean, he wants to, he really has all the room in the world to play around whatever he wants to at this point, so...
Plays a Wasteland. I think he was hesitating on that because I think he wanted to hold back until Javier potentially fetched a non-basic, but... Plays a Wasteland. Green Sun Zenith for 3.
Yeah.
And that should be a Knight of the Reliquary, I believe.
It will be.
It's not going to be a Blade Splicer. Well, it's not going to be a Blade Splicer because Blade Splicer is not green. But just trying to think of 3 drops that we've seen this weekend.
Another Reliquary. The best 3-drop
Pretty much.
in all of the Magical Gathering.
Steel Golem doesn't make the list.
Fortunately, Steel Golem has fallen to the wayside. Vendilion Click's up there,
Yeah.
but
Not Green Sun Zenithable.
Ooh, Javier top decks the Gassadamai is perfect.
In this situation, about one of the better cards that he could have against the Knight. But that choke is, I think that choke is just backbreaking. I don't know that this game's gonna last as long as the first one. Max does have to apply some more pressure and get into this open window that he's made for himself with the choke. Ghastly Demise takes care of the Knight of the Reliquary. Javier has to be real careful about what he decides to use that blue mana on, because it's a one-time use. He has Maelstrom Pulse, so he can get rid of the choke.
And now Max has a little bit of an interesting decision here. He has to choose how he's going to tap his mana to cast, I believe he chose Scavenging Ooze.
Okay.
Pretty good draw step.
And there it is, Scavenging Ooze.
Yep. Bubble, bubble. Max passing the turnover. Let's see what Javier draws. Javier's going to crack this fetch land.
That's a
basic forest. Definitely correct.
Setting up to basically putting him in a position to just get that Maelstrom Pulse and get the choke off the table. Unfortunately for him, casting a Maelstrom Pulse to deal with the choke. Oh, he's got his Scavenging Ooze of his own.
And Max's Ooze definitely wins the Ooze fight. He gets to remove all the creatures before Javier gets a chance to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And if Javier does ever remove a creature, it makes Max gain life, which will return the Punishing Fire. And then, yeah, that's obviously not good for Javier. So this Scavenging Ooze war, definitely in Max's favor.
I think you switch things. So if Max removes creatures, Max gains life, right? So if Javier removes a creature,
Max gets to return.
Right. Okay. I think when you said Javier, I think you might have said Javier gains life, and that. Well, wait a minute. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you said Max gains life. That's where I was confused. Anyway, the point is, when Javier removes a creature, Javier gains life, triggering the Punishing Fire. Max gets it back. Yeah. I get what you meant. Maybe I got mixed up with which names you said, but the point is, it interacts very well with Punishing Fire for Max. All right, Birds of Paradise activated to pay a green to make that ooze bigger, removing Stoneforge Mystic from Max's graveyard. Delver of Secrets already out of the graveyard, and we've
Throw
got
over the Burn Willows for Max, so he's going to be able to deal with the Scavenging Ooze right now.
All right, yeah, that's there's one creature left, but Javier does not have the mana open to grab it. So Javier loses his ooze, and not only that, but his ooze helps boost Max's ooze, and in for 5. Javier has to find Maelstrom Pulse real fast, and the scary thing for Javier. I think he just drew Maelstrom Pulse.
He did.
Does he have a land?
Doesn't have a land, though.
Oh, so
he draws the land. He also had Snapcaster Ghastly Demise, but the window for that is closed after this turn because the Scavenging Ooze will be big enough.
Way too big, yeah.
You know, it can remove cards from the graveyard, and it, essentially by removing a card and getting bigger, it's battling on two different fronts.
It only gets bigger if there are creatures removed,
yes.
right? So there are no creatures left to remove, but he can still make the graveyard. He can still remove cards from the graveyard.
Yeah.
He can also just remove the Ghastly Demise if a Snapcaster was even going to show up. Oh, so Javier did have the land.
Oh, he did. He was slowing that
Wasteland. And so what I was going to say, the scary thing is, Maelstrom Pulse is a sorcery. So he Maelstrom Pulses and has to pass the turn back to Max, who could potentially have another choke. He's got 3 in the board and potentially brought all 3 in. Max could just go second choke.
Yeah, Max here. Moves Knight of the Reliquary. Makes
Right,
this ooze into a 6/6.
Got a 6/6 ooze and Javier at 11 life. So we've got a 2-turn clock. 2 turns for Javier to find an answer. Finally found an answer to choke. Not sure he's going to be able to find an answer to that Scavenging Ooze in time. Javier now down to 5.
Wasteland's Javier's Wasteland. protecting his card with the burn wells. Well played.
Says go.
And extirpate for Javier. That's going to be able to get rid of those punishing fires forever and always.
Not though gonna deal with the Scavenging Ooze.
And I think that's it. I think Javier
that's what's gonna kill him. Yeah.
Just out of this game because, you know, what he needs to do is he needs to. Oh, it's really bad. I mean, he needs to Snapcaster to chump block and then just extirpate the punishing fires before he does that. But
doesn't he have Jace? He can Jace bounce.
Oh, he has Jace.
He has Jace, yeah.
Oh, I did not know he had Jace. I thought Max had Reb, though.
And yes, he does.
Yeah, Max has
In
Reb.
that case,
yeah.
Javier.
Yeah, Maxwell Tietze, moving on to the finals of this tournament, squeaks in on tiebreakers.
After choking.
In 8th place.
Yeah, chokes 2 opponents to get into the finals of this StarCityGames.com Invitational in Baltimore.
Refused the split when he offered it. He just squeaked into the top 8.
Wow.
He was